welcome back to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drew B. Wilson. With more than 2 decades in sales, I've seen it, been through it, heard about it. Now I'm bringing it to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community. Because let's be honest, this is the greatest job on earth. Doesn't matter where you come from, what background, what personality type, you can create an amazing life in sales. Today's guest is no stranger to the journey. He's traveled the world speaking on the topic, and he's someone I'm very excited to have on the show. He's my friend, Mr. Nathan Jamail. How are you, brother?
Man, thanks for being here, man. It's awesome to be here. Just living the dream, brother. Living the dream.
Well, I want to jump right in, man. I know with that, as much experience as you have, you've got a crazy sales story for us. Let's jump into it.
Man, there's thousands, right? I'll tell you one of my favorite is I was, not to give you my age, but I sold pagers. That's before cell phones, just for the record, right? And I remember back in those days, you'd cold call, like you'd literally go in an office building and you'd just go from the top floor, work your way down. Now, interesting fact, a lot of people didn't know why you started on the top floor. You never start on the bottom and work your way up. You always start on the top and work your way down because you're less likely to get caught by security. And so one day I'm walking in, I'm knocking on the doors, and a lady says, "Hey, do you know there's no listing here?" I said, "I'm so sorry. I thought it said come on in." And I try and make a lighthearted joke. And I always found it interesting that I'm walking in the front door and they say no soliciting, yet right behind me in the conference room, they're teaching the salespeople how to prospect and cold call. But I always find that ironic. Well, long story short, I'm knocking on doors. Security comes to me and says, "Sir, we're going to escort you out the building." Well, I'm already in the elevator. I figure I got nothing to lose. I noticed they have pages on their belts. And I said, "Hey, who's your carrier?" And they're like, "Really?" I'm like, "I'm going to leave anyway." And it became my next sell. So the security guy's kicking me out of the building. Sales is about being brave, right? I always tell people sales is about talking to people when they don't know they don't want to talk to you yet. And so, yeah, man, that's one of many. I have some from weeks ago where they like hang up on you, like, "Who are you?" Like, "You don't know who I am? Are you crazy?" So, yeah, great world to be in.
I love that story for a number of reasons, but one of them is for me, as someone who does a lot of training for sales professionals, and I think you'll appreciate this, so many people take that first no and immediately shut down. But to me, it's always, there's another opportunity. And you saw it right with, hey, you guys got pagers on your belt. Let's talk about what this could look like. Who's your carrier? Just being
Yeah.
very genuine. I mean, it's a salesy thing to do, but it's still an open-ended enough question that just gets them thinking like, okay, cool, here's the next step. And what I love about that is, for me, I almost, when I get told no, I've learned and trained myself, and I teach others, but hey, I understand if this isn't a good fit for you, but there's someone who it is. Would you mind introducing me to him real quick?
Yeah,
Just flip it.
you do. And here's the facts, though. I mean, like, when people tell us no, and we haven't got a chance to explain our value at all, they're just saying no because I don't see you yet. Like, I don't know. I don't have time for you. I don't want to hear your pitch. You're the same old guys, and so. It's the idea that you want to be persistent, but not pushy. And if I had the cure for cancer, I wouldn't take no for an answer. If you like, I would push for it, because if I know what I have is really valuable to you, I'm confident in it. And so one of the things about that I think is important about sales, if everyone needed what we had right now, we wouldn't need salespeople. We need cashiers. and whether it's, I share the paging story with you, but I work with financial services and a lot of tech, Cisco, Subalogic, McAfee. I've worked with these cats in this world, and the reality is, what we struggle with in the 90s and early 2000s is the same thing they struggle with today. Is how do you become valuable when you sell the same thing everyone else does? And I was on a call yesterday with a client, a sales leader. He sells people. And I said, "Man, there's only one answer that you can give when you lose a sale due to price or incumbent or anything else. There's only one answer." He's like, "Marketplace?" I'm like, "Nope, you're not good enough." You're just not good enough. We're not good enough. But here's the good news, brother. It's the only thing we can control. Can't control the market, can't control the competition. We just control how good we are.
I will agree with that 100%. I look at it as sales is really service. And that
Mm-hmm.
falls right in line with how good are you? Well, if you're practicing at the highest level and you're operating at the highest level and you're showing up at the highest level, then hey, if it didn't work, then you just weren't good enough. And the fun thing about that is when you get to that level, you start to recognize that some of the people you weren't good enough for were probably a better not working together situation than you thought anyways. Like I've realized that not being picked for certain businesses or situations ended up being a blessing in disguise. Kind of like for you, hey, I got thrown out of the building, but turns out it was because I was supposed to meet these gentlemen who I then got to do business with. How do
Yeah.
you help people understand the difference between like someone who's just a sales like in your face savage and someone who's a true professional that understands the nuance there?
So let me answer that in three parts. The first one is I'll tell you the difference between a salesperson and a sales professional is not what you wear, how big of a ticket item you sell, or how you sell it, whether it's conversational or complex or simplified or transactional sell. What differentiates a sales professional and a salesperson is the exact same thing that separates a professional athlete and an amateur athlete. A professional athlete practices 90% of the time. An amateur athlete practices less than 10% of the time. Most salespeople practice less than 1% of the time. Now, I do these keynotes and they're like, wait a minute, you're telling me I'm not a sales professional if I don't practice? Yes. I'm not telling you you're not successful. I'm not telling you you're not rich. I'm not telling you you're not good. I'm just saying that professionals practice. And here's the facts. If you don't practice, I don't mean train, I mean practice. The difference between practicing and training is learning something new. Practicing is getting better at something you already know. Baseball players, when they practice throwing the ball, which they've been doing for 20 years. They practice sliding, hitting, batting, all that stuff. How often do we practice asking questions? Never. And so until you learn to practice, you're not a professional. Now, here's my challenge to everyone. Regardless of what religion you are or whatever, what you believe. I think we all believe in some type of higher power. My challenge to you is this: if you're not practicing, you're successful. The gifts, the talents you have are gifts. You didn't create them; they were given to you. Thank you is what you're looking for. You can't take credit for them. And then your attributes, those were given to you as well. They were given to you by your environment, by your makeup. So your attributes and skill sets were a gift. Now my challenge to salespeople: if you're successful with just your gifts, how much more successful could you be if you actually practiced? I mean, this is why it's so amazing to see salespeople when you take a talented, gifted salesperson and then you put discipline and practice into the mix, they double their sales. And I don't mean in a decade, I mean in a year. The difference between the best and I work with, listen, I wrote my first book in 2008. I have never had a salary job. I was an executive in corporate America for 10 and a half years before I was a sales rep for 8 of those years. I've owned 6 small businesses, and whether I own my own company, whether it's a dry cleaners, a mortgage company, speaking business, or books, selling phones, insurance, life and health insurance, or technology, here's what I know: selling is a noble job. See, in sales, we make a paycheck for making a sale. We make a living for doing it right. If you can't sell something you don't believe in, you can't sell something you don't practice. You can't be as near as successful as you can be. I mean, God gave us these gifts or whatever you believe in. If we practice and understand the nobility of what we do, our success is limitless, literally limitless.
I mean,
Sorry, I got preachy there. I didn't mean to get up there and start preaching, brother.
You're preaching good. That's good preaching. Because at the end of the day, it's so interesting to me because I've met so many sales professionals over the years. And then I've met a lot of order takers who thought they were great sales professionals. And the difference truly is the ability to show up on the days when everything's going south and everything at home is all sideways and the world is really doing what the world does and putting that pressure on you. A sales professional can still show up and execute at a high level. They're just like, as you said, it's an athlete. It's someone who can, in the heat of the moment, still fall back on the practice and the actual work that they did on a day in and day out basis. And that's what allows them to be better than everyone else. And what I think is an interesting perspective is how those, when you start to elevate and you are better than everyone, a lot of people will say, "Oh, you think you're better than me." And it's hard because as someone who wants to be humble and be noble, it's like, well, no, I'm blessed first and foremost, like this is a gift, and also you could have this same opportunity if you were willing to do the same amount of work. Have you ever run into that?
Yeah, listen, here's what I found. I found there are salespeople who are successful despite their inability. And I've found there are salespeople who are struggling despite their ability and development. Territory, there's territory inequity, there's industry inequity, there's marketplaces. During COVID, some people were. I did a keynote for a company, and I'll never forget when they called me. They said, "Hey," I said, "What do you want to discuss?" He says, "We all read the Sales Professionals Playbook, and here's my concern: we're fat, happy, and lazy." Nathan, when COVID hit, the phone just kept ringing and ringing and ringing, and our guys are out of shape. I need you to get them back in shape. We haven't had to make a cold call in 2 years. We haven't had to make a pitch. All we had to do was say, it's a 6-month wait. How many would you like? And we got out of shape. When I went and did another event for a tech firm, and this was in 2022, and half the audience has never did an in-person sales call. It was all video call. And it's like, these guys have never been toe to toe. And I'm looking, and now, by the way, let's be clear. I know we're talking about salespeople, but for the sales leaders out there, let's be very clear. No one's going to practice unless you make them. Look at professional athletes. All their life, every professional athlete knows that if you're going to play the game at a high level, you got to practice. And the reality is, over 50 to 60% of the professional athletes, if the coach said no practice this week, over 50 to 60 of them wouldn't practice. A sales leader's job is to help us salespeople do what we know we should do that we don't want to do. So until a sales leader or an entrepreneur mandates practice, most of us won't do it. Listen, I was going to go to the gym this morning at 5 o'clock. 5:15, I'm like, I better go see if the kids are awake. I know I should have got my big butt up and went and worked out, but I didn't. Now, if I had my coach yelling in my ear going, "Get up, fatty," right? I would have went and worked out. And so you said something earlier, like we want to be humble. Listen, I'm okay with, yeah, I'm better today. I worry. I always worry about salespeople when they take the noble statements of, "I don't want to sell people. I want to help people." Oh, it scares the heck out of me. Like, don't say that. Like, even if it's true, it just sounds like you're lying. It's just like I want to help people. No, well, yeah, but would you do it for free? Like I tell people all the time, I love getting on stage and speaking, and I would do it for free. But you lost your mind. It pays so good. I'm not giving that up. And people say, "Well, if I called you, would you speak for free?" Well, heck, no, I wouldn't do it. I'm just saying, in theory, I would, but not in reality. In sales,
I want to pause there for a second because this is my immediate sales professional brain that's like, all right, well, if I know you have value because I've seen your keynotes and I know you're someone that can speak and bring value to my presentation. If I don't have the funds, now it's like, okay, well, what's the value pitch to, like, well, listen, I know you normally make $50,000 to show up and do a keynote. However, we don't have $50,000 in the budget. What I do know, though, is we have a room of 2,500 sales professionals that are looking for some training, which means you could have an opportunity to work with any number of them. And we'd be happy to pitch you that list as well and see if maybe you could do some value with it. What do you think? Is that something you might be interested in working on?
No.
See,
See, here's the deal.
different.
Yeah, here's the deal. You know why? You know why you need me more than you think you do? You don't have $50,000 handy. You got to know your value. This
Hey.
is where us salespeople, we start selling on price. You got to know your value. I love it. I deal with several clients who are manufacturers, and they make a product. And by the way, technology is the same way. I can get 15 different GPT or AI products. I have an AI bot. I could get 15 different kind of technology, whether it's security or data mining or whatever it may be. Or one of my clients, they make concrete pipe and plastic pipe and poly pipe and they're all listen. Everything's a commodity. There are 6 different people who make the same thing you make and make the same service you have and offer the same things you offer. So why you? And what everyone always goes to do is they always pitch their value. Like, we're honest, we'll make mistakes, but we'll tell you. This is why everybody thinks salespeople are the same. Here, I'll give you a nugget. You want to know the nugget of this 25 minutes or our time together? I'll give it to you right now. Other than practice, your quality and your value is not in your pitch, it's in your questions. The true value, it's I was getting ready for a podcast called me the other day. Says, hey, they do complex selling. I said, listen, you're going to hate to hear this. I think complex selling is the most simple process. The process is complex. The power of a sales professional is to make it simple. Make it a conversation. Here it is. I'll tell you what we need to do. Throw the pitch in the trash can because you already got it memorized. You know your product. You know your services. Work on your questions. And I'll put it in a simple statement. Our number one goal to be a true sales professional, someone who's authentic, someone who can truly show their value, someone who can build that relationship and deal with all the things we want to use as our difficulties of our job. I'll give you 2 things you need to know. You need to know the person in front of you. 2 things about them. You know their priorities and you need to know their perspective. How can you help someone that you don't know their priorities and perspectives? And this is why they think salespeople are all the same, because we ask 2 or 3 questions, like what keeps you up at night, and how would you change this, and what do you like and dislike about your current. And it's we're all asking the same questions, and that's why they all would think we're the same people, and we're not. What makes you special is you and your ability to understand and care. Practice your questions. Understand someone's priorities and perspectives. And you'll always have the value. So back to your question about 2,500 people. I would tell you, no, I won't do it because you don't have $50,000. Now, let's be clear. There are certain organizations that are very important to my network or I'm going to do one for a group here for a friend of mine. And it's a bunch of business owners. And I'm paying for my own airfare. I mean, not only am I doing it for free, I'm paying to go. And I'm paying to give, because this organization I'm giving them something of value, but it's my choice. You know how many times I've been at a book signing, and someone says, I'd buy your book if you give it to me? I've said the simple fact that if I gave it to you, you'd never read it. It's not worth my time nor yours.
Amen.
So,
oh, say it again. We're going to clip that and use it because, I've had, we have multiple books as well. And it's so interesting to me when you're running, marketing to them and they're like, well, just give it to me for free. And it's like, but you'll never read it.
No.
Because you don't care.
If I offered you a free ticket to we own an executive retreat center here, a glamping center at my ranch. We have 46 acres here in Marble Falls. And people say, well, give me a free ticket. I'm like, you'd be the worst participant. You're not engaged. You're not committed. You got no skin in the game. I remember when remember that paging job I told you about? Mm-hmm. It was a heavily commissioned job. It was very low salary. I went to the bank and borrowed. Now you're gonna laugh because it was a long time ago, and so money was a lot higher value. I had to borrow $1,800 to the bank so I could pay my bills for the next 90 days. Well, I had no paycheck. You talk about skin in the game. That's taking a job. And I love it. And this is what I do think about salespeople. That's amazing. I was doing an event for a very large financial firm, and the CFO went on stage and says, hey, you can trust our salespeople. They don't work off commission. And I went to the CFO afterwards and I said, how you get paid does not determine whether you're a good, ethical person. If you get paid commission, you're ethical. If you get paid salary, you're ethical. It's your core of who you are. You can be unethical on salary too. And let's be clear, salary people and commission people, we're all paid commission. Commission people, we're paid in the rears. Salary people, you're paid in advance. But you don't keep doing that job, trust me, you won't have that salary next year. So earn our paycheck. You said selling is service. I can't agree with you more. I think selling is serving. The more I serve you, the more you buy. And the last nugget for your audience is the next time you walk into the office and someone says, are you here to sell me something? The last thing I want to come out of your mouth is, no, I'm not here to sell you anything. You wouldn't walk into a doctor's office and say, doctor, you here to cure me? Nope, not here to cure you of nothing. I'm just here to listen. Like, be proud of what we do. Are you here to sell me something? I sure am. If it's something that helps you.
Only if you want it.
That's it.
That's it. I like, this is one of those conversations where I have zero doubt you and I could probably sit here at a big round table and have like 100 stories and a million different ideas to share. And I would love to do that someday in the future when we get that opportunity, maybe at one of those big 2,500 person events. Maybe we'll both be blessed to speak on the same stage in that instance. And until then, though, I want to be respectful of your time. I mean, it's the most valuable asset we have. We can all go make more money. We can sell more stuff, but time is really valuable. So I appreciate and I'm grateful for yours today. For those of us that want to come learn more about you, check out your books, find out how we can learn more of these amazing strategies, what's the best way to come and check you out?
The best way to come check me out is going to my website, nathanjamail.com. You can follow us on Instagram. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, all the social media. But go to nathanjamail.com. That's NathanJamail.com. You can get all the resources there. We have VIP coaching programs. You can get all the content. And if you want to find one of my books on Amazon, just type in Nathan Jamail in Amazon and they'll show up. I always tell people, I just want you to find me. And I want to help you and serve you in any way I can and get the data. But go to our website. You can sign up for our AI bot. We have Mini Nathan. If you're old enough to remember Austin Powers, Mini Me. Now we have Mini Nathan. But that's the best route to track us, and hopefully we'll get you some links and things that we can put in here as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll make sure we get all those down in the show notes. I mean, you guys know what to do. If you're here and you're listening and you got some value out of this, share it on social media, send it to a friend, a colleague, coworker, whoever you know needs to hear what my friend Nathan just dropped today, because he had some absolute nuggets on how to be a sales professional who actually gets the job done. So make sure you're sending this out, subscribe, review, all the things. Go check out his website. I know I'm excited. I've already sent a message to my team to go and grab his books on Amazon for me. And as always, if you have your own sales story and you want to be a part of this show, I'd love for you to be a guest. Head over to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Send us your information. We'll get you booked on. Nathan, man, thank you so much for being a guest today. We're truly, truly grateful.
Hey, Brother Drewby, I appreciate you having me. It's been awesome.
All right, you guys know what to do from here. Go call those damn leads. We'll see you on the next one.